Hey guys, long time no see. I am back from a much needed travel slash vacation. I was in Scotland and Ireland. It was the first vacation where I really disconnected and unplugged for basically my entire life, I would say. But now I am back to work myself into the ground like a good American until I need another vacation like that in a few years. So we've got a great, very special podcast episode for you today. A lot of you guys will know who this guy is. He has really made a name for himself out here in Europe by, one, being one of the most prolific and exciting American football players to play in Europe in recent memory, and two, by having a YouTube channel that he grew to amass millions and millions of views, hundreds of thousands of followers, and he did it for years, really entertaining people, all while being one of the best football players in Europe. So many of you guys will know the man himself, Silas Nacita. Now, one little caveat, we did film this in separate locations. We each filmed ourselves. So later on in the podcast, we have some video issues, but the audio is good all the way through. And I think that is about it. So, without further ado, Silas Nacita.
We have the man, the myth, the legend, one of the greatest to ever do it in Europe, and he's back. Silas Nacita. What's going on, man?
Dude, I don't know why. I love talking to you. I think that you understand me and my experience in Europe better than most people just because of that crossover between football and film and just getting to really love the culture aspect of playing football overseas as well as playing football itself. So it's always good to see you. I feel like I know you, and I feel like we've spent so much time together, even though we've probably only seen each other like 4 times.
I know. I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, I feel like the amount that we know each other is so disproportionate to the times we've actually seen each other in person. Right? And just like what you said, I feel like you're one of the few, probably one of the only people in the world that has a very, very, like we have a very, very similar experience coming over to play football in Germany, in Europe, while also doing YouTube. And that's such a specific niche thing. And I always feel like, well, the only one who really understands kind of what I'm feeling is Silas. He's the only one who really understands how this thing goes. And we could talk a little more about that, but I want to kind of run it back a little bit to 2016. This is when you first came out to Germany to play football for the Marburg Mercenaries. Can you give me a little fly-through story of your life from 2016 to sitting here on the balcony in Switzerland today? What have you been up to, man?
Yeah. Moved to Marburg, Germany in 2016. No idea what football in Europe was like at all. I didn't know they had football in Europe until January 2016, and I was on a plane April 2016. So it was all new, all foreign, but I came for football. Like, that was the gateway. Like a lot of guys, that's the gateway, and then I came in and found this whole different realm of life that was awesome. So 2016, Marburg. The first day I get there, might have been the first or second day, our head coach, Canadian guy, old guy, sat me down. He was like, yeah, I got to let you know, I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like, he literally was gone a week later. So I show up to Germany. My coach tells me the first day, this isn't it for me. He leaves. So we literally have no coach for my first year in Germany. We had this German coach who he kind of showed up every now and then. But, I mean, I went from, I'm going to play professional football to I am scripting practices and trying to come up with an offense and living in a house with 5 Americans and a German lady. And that was my entrance into European football. So I think I kind of started from the bottom and just kind of worked my way up. So had a successful season in Marburg. Frankfurt reached out to me. Schwäbisch Hall reached out to me, which we can get into later. Because Like I've thought about what my life would look like if I had chose to go into Hall with you my second year. But I didn't know much about it at the time, and Frankfurt offered me way more money than I did the first year and my own apartment and all this stuff. So it was hard to pass up and go to Frankfurt, have a successful season there, go back to Marburg in 2018, and then from there find out that my college coach was going to coach in Italy. So joined him in Italy in 2019, and then 2020 COVID hit, and I started a business, and so didn't go back out to play football after that. Obviously, there's personal things that were happening that were tough in my life at the time too, but I kind of thought football was done until last year, out of nowhere, a friend that I played with in Marburg reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to come to Austria for the playoffs?" And I thought, let's go see if I still have it. Went back for a month in Austria, still had it, and then that kind of reopened up all the doors. So teams started hitting me up, and at that time, people had been DMing me for a couple years about this new league, the ELF. And I was just like, whatever, I got things to do in America. But then now, fast forward 2022, end of 2022, some teams hit me up. My business was in a good place I could step away from it. And, then it was like Switzerland, opportunity to go to Switzerland. I never lived in Switzerland. I was like, man, I don't know if I could pass up living in Switzerland. So here I am.
And here you are. Yeah, man, there's so many questions I have from that. The first one that pops in my head is when you came back last year to Austria and you said, you're like, I want to see if I still have it. And I saw the highlights, man. It seemed like you didn't really miss a beat. How did it feel to be back out on the field? Did you feel the exact same? And had you been training as a football player? I know you've been doing CrossFit and stuff, but like...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hadn't touched a football in, all of 2020, almost 3 years. No, 3 years, I think. I hadn't touched a football in 3 years. I was doing CrossFit just to keep in shape, but I hadn't touched football. And yeah, so when I showed up, I don't know, it felt pretty normal. Everyone's speaking German. That feels normal to me at this point. But I felt slow for the first game. My legs were tired. Like, my legs were not ready. My legs were not football shape. But I don't know. It was kind of like riding a bike, I guess. Came back and got back on the bike.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's got to be. I always feel like that when I start a new season or used to start a new season. I'm like, man, am I going to even know how to tackle somebody? That's such an unnatural thing. And then it does just come back somehow. During that time when you were back in the States, started your business, living in Texas, right? How did you miss football? Because this is a totally different lifestyle than what you had for the previous years in Germany, in Italy, as a football superstar in the European world.
Mm-hmm. Not really, because I knew that I needed to lay low for a while. Like, I needed some time in my life to not be a star. I needed to just be an ordinary dude, and I don't know, just figure some things out. Like, I did miss traveling. I loved traveling. I loved that aspect of it. But I guess there was also an aspect of avoidance where I just I didn't think about it. Like, I didn't want to think about football. I didn't want to think about the possibilities. When life was maybe boring or dull in America, just working on building a business, I didn't want to think about I could just be over there, I wanted to build a sustainable business that could last for, a long time. And you can't really do that if you're constantly thinking about some other more fun activity. So don't get me wrong, being over here is definitely more fun. You have more free time, more chance to explore. But it was good for me to be there.
Yeah, sounds like a good, important chapter in your story is how I would look at it basically. Why do you feel, and feel free to not answer if you don't want to, why do you feel like you needed to just be a normal guy? Do you think it was just kind of sort of the fast life of YouTube and football and traveling in Europe for multiple years?
Yeah, I think so, man. Like, I mean, I think a lot of people who followed me on YouTube know this already, so it's not a surprise. But I went through a tough divorce. Like that junk is hard, man. It's hard for anybody. Now, put that on display for a lot of people to see, that's even harder, right? So I went through a period of time where I had to really wrestle through my identity, my purpose, meaning in life, all of those things. And it's really hard to do that when you're in the spotlight. It just is, bro. I don't know. I mean, you understand. Like, you understand it's hard to just live and people kind of be like, well, tell us what's going on. Tell us what's going on. And you're kind of like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I need some time to figure out what's going on. I can't just tell you. It's like, it's almost like you and I entered into kind of a beast that not very many people experience, where you just have so many people seeing into your life. Not a lot of people understand that, and it's just a difficult thing. Like, I don't think humans were designed for so many people to see what's so much stuff going in your life. And so you have to figure out how to balance those two things. Like, I want to create, I want to share, but at the same time, I also want to be a normal human being that has his own experiences by himself.
Resonate 1,000,000% with everything you just said there. It's like one, absolutely, it is very, I think, unnatural and new for human beings to connect with so many people through the internet. And of course, there were movies in the past where tons of people watch movies, but there weren't vlogs in the past where you had an insight into, they were acting. It wasn't the real person. People are seeing you or a part of you publicly, hundreds of thousands. And then in some sense, like, people feel almost entitled to your life. And it's like, whoa, man, I'm sharing what I want to share. And if I don't feel like that, you're not entitled to that. And another thing is, man, with the YouTube stuff, even when everything's going great, that's a stressful, weird thing. So to throw on top, like, having a personal struggle in your personal life, it's, I mean, yeah, man, I can only imagine. So makes a ton of sense. So then you're back in Texas and you do start this business. For the people who don't know, you've got a video production business in Texas, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What would you say is something that you learned, a lesson that you learned from building a business in your 20s?
Yeah, the first thing that pops into my head, there are many, but the first thing that pops into my head is that if you want to build a sustainable business, you cannot be the star.
That's great.
You cannot be the star, man. If you want to be the star, great. Be the star, but you will always have to be the star, even when you don't want to be. And so that I learned really quickly, that if I wanted to have the freedom to come back to Europe, I have to begin to empower other people to do what I can do. Otherwise, I have to always be there, and that was a really cool time for me, because I go from being star, like center of the screen picture, like Silas, to like you guys, and like, hey, this is how you can do it, and you can do it by doing this, and this. And I took what I learned from YouTube even, and like instilled it in other people, so that now, like, I'm here, they're there, but they're doing maybe not to the highest extent of what I could do, but pretty dang close. And I think they're getting to the point where they're passing that, because my strengths kind of hit a ceiling, but theirs kept going. And from a technical video standpoint and all that stuff. Now, I had to really help them with the story aspect and how to pull that out of people, things that I learned from YouTube. But they're doing a great job, and I got a business running back in the States, and I'm here.
Man, that's super cool. That's a great lesson. That's essentially you need to empower other people to help bring out the best in other people for something sustainable. Because it's just like what you said, like if you're burning hot and bright, you can't do that forever. It's so unsustainable. And that can be in many different aspects of life, whether it's YouTube or work or football or whatever it is. I think that's a great lesson, man. Yeah, that's interesting. Do you feel like you'll approach YouTube with a different mentality? Will you? What type of content do you have in mind?
Well, I do have a podcast that I want to do.
Nice.
It kind of be my own version of European League of Football, but more geared towards our team and the individual players and stuff. But I'd say the biggest change is I'm not so much interested to share my stuff. I want to hear from other people, and I want to use my platform that I have to like let other people have a voice, right? I want to go and find the people that I see. I'm like, hey, these people deserve to have their voice heard. I'm going to go to them, you know, kind of what you're doing it too. Like I've seen you, like even in time you switch where you're just asking people questions a lot more than this is what I see, you know, this is what I've learned and blah, blah, blah. I'm just kind of tired of doing it.
Bro, I love this conversation because we have such a similar experience, a similar timeline. Because I got to the point where I'm like, I'm sick of me talking. I'm sick of hearing me. I want to get stuff from other people. I want to learn things from other people. And that's what, like, podcasting is so cool because even in what have we been going for like 15 minutes and you already hit me with a profound lesson. Every time I do this, I get a profound lesson from people.
Yeah.
And, you know, and doing it in this format kind of forces you and the guest to articulate thoughts in a really strong way. And like, I don't know, it's a really cool thing. It's so funny, man, how we have such similar experiences.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like there's no, what we're doing is so extremely niche. I never know how to say that word. It's so niche, but but yet we were the same, like we both were doing it, right? And I gotta give a shout out to anybody listening to the Imported podcast that Nick is actually the reason I started YouTube. So like,
Thanks,
Nick,
bro.
I've always been a huge fan of the Now content because it literally inspired me to get my start. Like you at that point you had maybe like a couple hundred subscribers. You hadn't made a movie. You hadn't become all these things. You were just like a dude I saw walking around the field with a cell phone, and I was like, dang, that's cool. I want to do that too. I still have my first vlog. I gotta we gotta do like a reaction.
Yeah, man. That I appreciate you saying that, man. And you know what's so cool is also, so you say that I helped inspire you to start your YouTube early on, and I have to say that you helped me the following year to really take it seriously because I saw that like I was doing it the first year and, you know, I got a couple hundred subscribers. I was like, oh man, this is cool. But then you came around and you really skyrocketed. And I was like, oh man, Silas is crushing it. I gotta take it more seriously. I want to crush it too. And so in a really cool way, it totally flipped. And then you inspired me. And then it, you know, kind of took off for both of us from there. So I think that's a really cool symbiotic. Is that the right word? Relationship.
Yeah.
It's probably not the right word.
Yeah.
It's probably not it.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
One day we'll get to have like an extended time where we actually spend some time together because we've only ever got like these little stints here and there.
I know. It's like 1 hour here, a couple years later, 40 minutes there, a couple minutes, you know, a couple of years later. We're going to get there, man. Maybe this year.
I see us being like hosting the ELF championship game or something, or some like NFL Europe game. Me and you being like the hosts one day.
Hey, one day you and I will commentate an NFL game in Germany. How about that? Let's put that out there. Okay, hire us.
Aber wir müssen Deutsch sprechen.
All right, I was going to ask you, how is it being in Switzerland? Speaking of German, compared to Germany so far for you? And the first question I have is Swiss German as difficult to understand for you as it is for me.
Yeah, I don't even like ever listen to Swiss German. I can't tell if they're speaking Swiss German or not. And most of the time, the guys speak German to me. So my German's gotten a lot better. I've been wanting to practice it. So all the guys know I'm trying to learn German. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not interested in learning Swiss German. I'm just not. Like, I want to learn German. You speak German. There's no point in me learning Swiss German. But from what everyone says, it's a lot different. But I also learned that they read and write in German, but they speak in Swiss German.
Yeah, that's so strange. That's very interesting. How has it been just culturally? I mean, you dove in a similar way that I did to the German culture with all of your experiences, doing vlogs, being on TV in Germany, and now you're in Switzerland, which is, some would say, like a similar country, but it's got to be a little bit different. Have you noticed some differences culturally?
Well, let's talk about the first one. It is expensive as frick here, bro. Unbelievable. I was walking around the other day trying to find a meal for under $20, and it's almost unheard of to get a meal under $20. Like, if you want a food and a drink, it's like the cheapest you can get obviously is going to be like your doner kebab, right? But even the doner kebab is around 12 francs, which is $15, dude. Damn. And that's your cheapest. That's your cheapest option. So it's like, dude, it is expensive. Yeah.
That is brutal. Yeah, actually, I remember I went to Zurich with my brother in 2017, and I got like a cheeseburger, no fries, and it cost me 35 euros at the time. And it was just, when you're on that import salary too, I was like, this is 20% of my salary.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to grocery shop, but it is expensive. I mean, it's very, very, where I'm at, very German influenced, but I'll tell you what, man, it is beautiful here. Like Lucerne, we are right next to the lake, maybe 2 minutes walking. Like, if I walk downstairs, I'm downtown, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, man. Wait, so what city are you guys in? You're around Zurich, right?
Yeah, Lucerne is the name.
Okay.
It's on a lake.
Oh, yeah.
Lake
I know
Lucerne,
Lucerne. Yeah. I know Lucerne. Okay. Damn, that is so sick.
Yeah.
That is just so cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been back?
I've been here for, I want to say literally 2 weeks ago from today I got here.
Yeah.
So it's just been a lot of adjusting. We had a different apartment, and then we moved downtown. Then we had we moved into this, like, this is the nicest apartment I've lived in Europe, like in my 6 different times being here. Nicest, like, it's huge, bro. It is like, I'll give you a tour in maybe later, but it is the biggest apartment I've ever been in. It's 2 full bedrooms, bathrooms. The living area is bigger than like any place I ever stayed in. We got a full kitchen, oven, dishwasher, washer dryer. Like, this is pretty top notch for Europe. And so, however, we had no furniture when we moved in, so they rolled up here with like all IKEA furniture.
Nice.
And you know IKEA furniture.
Oh,
right?
nice.
So we spent an entire day building beds, closets, and that was it. And it took an entire day.
You're an expert now, bro. You're an expert with the IKEA furniture. Who are you living there with? Is it with the other imports?
Yeah, I'm here with my wife, Colin, and his wife, the quarterback and his wife. So there's 4 of us here, and it's like,
that is cool.
It's nice.
That is a really cool setup. That is awesome. I wanted to kind of get back to, I don't know, I like some of the stuff you were telling me earlier about kind of just the growth as a human being. And I wanted to ask you, what is something that you would tell how old were we when we met in 2016? Your 2016 self. So what is that, 23 years old?
22. We were 22.
22, 23 years old.
We were 20.
Some sort of life lessons and sort of growth throughout your 20s, our 20s, What is something that you would tell your 22-year-old self, that Silas in 2016, who's about to go through, his 20s of ups and downs? What is something that you would tell him?
Dang, bro, this is tough. I'm usually the person who's asking these questions.
Gotcha.
Literally, like almost like verbatim, I ask these questions. Like, what's one thing you learn? Let me think for a second.
Take your time.
What would I tell my 22-year-old self? It would have to be something along the lines of, dang. You don't have to earn your identity. You don't have to earn your worth and your value. For me, I would tell my 22-year-old self, God thinks that you're awesome. Without you being a YouTube star, without you being a great football star, without achieving anything, he loves you and he thinks you're awesome. Like, you don't have to earn that. Yeah, that would be it. Like, that's that short little nugget. If I could take it all and just give you that one little thing. Now, whether or not I would take that and listen, probably not.
No, man, that's great. That's very wise words. And I mean, that's something like that I'm still dealing with right now. And especially, and then like, to bring it back again to the YouTube stuff, because YouTube, like, we get external validation and external validation, and it's quantified with numbers too, which is a dangerous thing for a 23, 24, 25-year-old person, for any person, to place their sense of self-worth and identity in, I'm good and valuable because I do this, that this many people watch and like, and that's where I find my identity and value.
It's a never-ending just pit that you can never climb out of. It'll never be enough. You'll never have enough views. You'll never have enough likes. You'll never have enough good comments to make you feel like, okay, I'm enough.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't matter if you're 10 million subs, if you're 10 subs, 100 subs, 100,000 subs. It doesn't matter. Every single person, I've talked to people who've had the millions of subs, and then I'm like, hey, does you feel like you made it? No, I need 10 million. Mm-hmm. It's like, so then I'm like, man, clearly nobody is like, has gotten to the number that they're going to feel enough. So there's got to be a way to get that feeling now. And I haven't mastered this, but I anytime I start to get into these circular thoughts of, man, I need to do more, I need to accomplish more, then I have to check myself and say, am I trying to earn my value right now? Am I trying to earn my worth? And I have to stop and be like, no, you know what? God loves me. I'm enough. I don't have to earn or achieve this. And that's what the craziest part is, and you know this, the best content that you can create comes from a place of, I am enough. And it's just an overflow of like, man, this is awesome. I love doing this. It has nothing to do with views. Has nothing to do with how great other people are going to think this is. It just comes from a place of overflow of, I'm already enough. And this is just a outpour of that joy for life. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's just like, it's so weird because, I had the exact same experience, of course. I remember when I got 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we were actually playing against the Scorpions when Connor Sullivan was on the team, and he had just hit 100,000. And I talked to him after the game. I was like, man, what is it? I got 10,000. It's like kind of cool, but what does it feel like to have 100,000? And he's like, doesn't matter. I just want 1 million now. And I was like, oh, yeah. Man. But when I get 100,000, I'm going to feel good. And then, it happens and you feel the exact same. And it's just like you said, man, it's a never ending pit. It's so weird though, because you know it, you do know it. And
somehow I still find myself kind of slipping into it. At least I'm aware of it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But there's always that little bit that, it's something that you got to continually work on, I think, to just not play.
I daily wake up and I journal every morning when I wake up.
Yeah.
And yesterday, the thing I didn't. Sometimes, I mean, it varies what I write, but yesterday I literally wrote. I could pull it. I can grab it right there. Yeah, literally, I'll grab it.
Cool.
Just evident.
Nice.
Maybe it was a little more. Maybe it's a little farther back. But I literally wrote like, I am enough.
That's so great.
Like I don't need to. Oh yeah. My first line. I am fully loved.
That's great.
Because that's the reason why we do anything, bro. We just all want love. We all want to be loved, and we want to feel like we're like enough to be loved. You know? That's why someone who's just in the middle of nowhere but just has a family who loves them is more satisfied than the person who's making like $1 billion but doesn't have any real friends.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. How do you feel you're on your journey of self-love?
I mean, I think everything changed for me a few years ago, man. Like when you go through something where like the person that you really are closest with, kind of that shatters, that breaks, it makes you question, dang, am I still worthy of love? Because the reality is that you have to really look inward whenever there's a break like that in relationship. And for me, I'm not naive. Like I really took into consideration, like, where did I go wrong? What was my fault? And I look back at myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was terrible. Like I see all the things that like she rightfully could say these really hurtful things to me, that it's like, she's right. She's right in saying these things. Like, I think a tendency for a lot of us is like, whenever someone says something really hurtful or mean about you, your character, whatever, it's like, oh no, it's their fault. Like, they're just wrong. And the reality is like, no, they're not. She wasn't wrong in saying a lot of things. So it made me really go to the drawing board and be like, if what she's saying is true, then wouldn't that mean that I'm not worthy of love? Because I'm like, no, she's like, these are things that happen, right? And then it made me go all the way back down to, man, there's so many things about me that are not worthy of love. So how am I going to keep going in life? And my final conclusion was that God loves me. And that was like kind of the whole message of this Jesus guy, was that you are messed up. There's like so many things that you do that are wrong and bad and blah, blah, blah. But he loves me anyway. And it's from that place that I start. And it changed everything. It's like, it's from the place that I'm already loved by him, so that that way I can actually admit that, dude, I do mess up and I do hurt people. And from that place, I can actually say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I did this. Otherwise, I can't admit it.
Yeah.
Because then I'm terrified that if I admit that I hurt you really that bad, then I'm almost like, it's like this fear of, if I admit it, then it's true about me and then I'm not worthy of love.
Yeah.
But then if you have that security of, now there's a God who loves me despite the fact that I do all those things, then I can say, dang, you're right. Like, dude, this gets deep.
Yeah.
But Connor and I had this huge falling out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we reconciled like maybe 6 months ago. We didn't talk for like 2 years, 2.5 years. And we had this he came to Waco, and then we had this like hour-long podcast where we hashed out everything. He wanted to post it, and I was like, I'm fine posting it. And we got deep into it, bro.
Really?
Maybe I'll send it to you if you want to.
I would love to, man.
Yeah.
I would love to.
But he decided he didn't want to post it, and but all that to say, man, like, I can look back and like freely talk about where I was a fool and where I was just self-centered, narcissistic, all these things, and be like, yeah, I definitely did that. But God loves me, right? And so there's a verse in the Bible, Romans 5:8, that says, but God demonstrates his love for us that while we are at our worst, Christ died for us. And it was like, Jesus didn't come and die for people that are just awesome. Like, we're all awesome and like, oh, we totally deserve that. He came and died for us like when we were at our worst, not when we're like 200,000 subs crushing it, but when we're like running away from YouTube because your marriage is falling apart. Like, that's what Jesus came for, you know?
That's awesome, man. That's just, I really love to hear that and your perspective on it, and the reflection and growth. And I just feel like, of course, there's probably like a lot of hard moments and stuff from all of these experiences, but it feels like it's probably equipped you with knowledge and tools and understanding for the rest of your life, probably, and in a way that you'll be able to help other people too.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, and that's the thing, is everybody's going through this, but it's just like I said, you and I and not that many people, like, they go through it on display.
Yeah, man.
And it's like, bro, we're in our 20s. Like, our 20s, for like since the beginning of time, I'm sure everybody in their 20s are just like making a fool of themselves, but they weren't recording it.
Yeah, man, and posting on the internet.
I was the dumb one that was like, let me everybody look at my stupid 20s.
I look back, yeah, man. I look back at some of my old videos. I'm like, damn, what am I doing? I posted this on the internet. Yeah. What am I doing, man? Yeah. It's just like most people. I mean, we chose to do that. Most people get to have all of those moments in private, or at least not in front of lots of people. But we had that. Yeah. I do feel like there are some benefits to that experience. I feel like we opened ourselves up to a lot of criticism as well. And I feel like having so many like eyeballs on you on your personal life and stuff like that helps, or at least has helped me to, I mean, at first it was horrible, but to develop sort of a more neutral view on criticism, and you know, maybe give me a little bit more of a thick skin, I would say. It took a long time. But I think that if I had to say, like, there's a positive aspect of that beast, that might be one of them.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's ultimately the man in the arena, right? That quote. I'm sure you've heard it, Teddy Roosevelt. Like, if I would go back in my 20s, someone's like, would you still do YouTube knowing what you know now, and it would kind of be with the same result type thing? Yeah, like I would, because I've always been the type who's like, throw me in the arena, you know, and like I would rather fail publicly and miserably than not try at all.
I love that, man. I love that. Swing big and swing for the fences, and also like I wouldn't even like what. Yeah, of course that there were some failures in there publicly, but also there were some huge triumphs, I would say, with your experience as well. Huge triumphs.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it's so. And then there's just so many people that were looking up to you and got so much joy and pleasure from seeing you experience everything and provide these videos. And it's like, it's also another thing that I don't think that we human beings are able to comprehend all the way. Like, I can tell you, like, hey man, you know, you made a lot of people happy. Your brain can't really understand that all the way, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, bro. Like, I mean, part of the reason I stayed away from YouTube was I had this like huge looming cloud in my head that I did nothing good. Like, it was wild, man. Some random guy messaged me and he's like, hey man, I watched your YouTube videos for like 4 years and I'm passing through Waco. And I was like, bro, come by. Like, I'd love to talk to you, because I was like super curious to hear like his perspective of my life. This dude like literally had front row seat to my life for like 5 years. And I like came out of this like storm, right? This tornado. And then I'm like, hey, what was your perspective on me just in that thing getting thrown around, right? And I asked him a legitimate question. I have the clip. I can send it to you. I was like, was my YouTube channel a positive impact on the world? Like I literally was like, was it even good at all? And he was like, bro, absolutely. Like, what are you talking about? You know? And I was like, it was like hard for me to comprehend because I couldn't see it at the time. And so to your point, and to people who've watched me, is like, yeah, I like couldn't see that I was doing anything good. So I was like, why should I come back?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, did you post that clip somewhere? I feel like I saw that. Did I see that somewhere?
Yes. I posted it like on like almost like a trailer thing.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I mean, dude, even I look back at those times when you were posting in 17 and 18 with such nostalgia and joy, because it was so fun. Like, I was posting videos and then I'd be like, Silas and Connor posted videos also, and just and the nature of YouTube is like you feel so connected to it. And so man, even I can say it brought a lot of joy. Brought a lot of joy to people.
Yeah.
So I think it's a net good for sure.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
All right, Silas. So I appreciate you coming on the pod, talking with us from Switzerland. What can people expect from you this year? What are you getting up to, content wise, travel wise? What do you want to leave the people with? Anything?
I don't know, man. I think don't expect anything. I think I'm going to be here and I am going to just experience Europe from a fresh perspective. I'm going to create when I have an overflow of joy to create. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm posting this, and this, and I'm going to do this, and this. I'm going to be here and be present with people and get to know the people and create when it's time to create. But I will say that I am very excited to learn German. Like, I've been practicing German for the last year. I feel like my German's pretty proficient, and so I'm going to be making videos where I talk to people in German a lot, and there's going to be a lot of podcasts where I interview people and hear their experiences, and hopefully I'll talk to you a few more times.
I think so, man. I think so. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Silas Nacita.